when you seek out people who are there for you, like and who want to have hard conversations, and their doubt isn't about should you do this. Theirs is, have you thought about this?
Right. Yeah. Right.
Are you working on this? Is this important right now? Is this what we should be focusing on? That's where I see all these people who are just hanging on, telling their story, pretending to be confident.
Yeah.
I know I've done it.
Yes. Yeah.
Every day, right now.
Yeah.
And working through it, but it is that, and if you surround yourself, and one of the biggest things I've found in re-engaging in this deep community is that everyone wants the person next to them to be successful. And I think we sometimes underestimate that.
Between May 2020 and December 2021, I have secured $8,121,009.35 in legitimate funding for Black and minority-owned businesses. My name is Taliba Bales, and I'm the host of the Black and Bankable podcast. Effective immediately, I am coming for more for the community.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Black and Bankable podcast. Let me tell you something. I know I say this at the opener of every episode, and I think the more I do, they're all just going to be my favorite. But when I say that this episode, if you've just tuned in to me, watch the others, but this one is a good one to start when it comes to being a woman business owner. Why? I am in DC, y'all. Yes, back to my favorite place, Washington, DC. More specifically, I am attending the conference of all conferences when it comes to serving women businesses. And that's the conference that's hosted by the Association of Women's Business Centers. And you're going to hear women probably a million times in this episode because this is just where we are. That's why I'm saying tune in. And if you see all these powerhouses behind me, you know who they represent. I have the honor and pleasure of also having several councilwomen of the National Women's Business Council. Women. If you are a woman business owner, tune in. So look, it's time to get to it. I said powerhouses, and let me tell you something. This could probably be a marathon podcast episode with the wealth, gems, all of that. And that just means they got to come back on the show. Because when I tell you that this is probably one of the most esteemed group of women that I've interviewed on this podcast, it is it. And you'll find out why. We're going to hop right into it. Just like I say on every episode, grab a pen and paper because we're about to give you tangible tools to run your successful business. And we're going to tie it in to some awesome conversation that's happening right now at this conference, as well as the general theme of what you come to this channel to hear. And that is how you can get your women and minority owned business bankable, which means access to the money, access to the resources that will not only have you just surviving in your business, but thriving. So let's hop exactly to why you are here, why you hit that play button, and why you will hit the share button. We have everybody smiling. We have several. Y'all know that I am totally still. You cannot be Black and Bankable and not be free flowing. We have several powerhouses right now. I'm going to mix it up and not go on the line. And we are going to start at the end here with Miss Roberta. First, I want us to appropriately celebrate these powerhouses and what they do. And I want Roberta to edify herself and telling us everything that she does and why you need to have that pen and paper out. Miss Roberta.
Well, thank you so much. And this is exciting. I love this. I love just being around like-minded women because it just gives me energy. So where to start? I guess my professional role, I serve as a Senior Vice President of Operations for Institute Capital, which is a loan fund. It is a community development financial institution for an organization that has a really long name, the National Institute of Minority and Economic Development, or we call ourselves the Institute for short.
Okay.
The loan fund is one of the many things they do. We're going to focus on that because that's what the money is.
That's right.
So we're not going to go into all other things. But I also have the privilege of being the board chair of the Association of Women's Business Centers, which is a conference that we're at right now. And it has just been so far a blast.
It really has. Can y'all see how absolutely blessed we are today already? All right, Miss Kathy.
Well, thank you. I'm Kathy Cochran. I have a couple roles in this kind of conversation that we're having. One, I sit as the chair of one of the women's business centers, one located in North Dakota, a rural state. I sit on the National Women's Business Council. And my business is really around funding women business owners. So I'm a part of two private equity groups. I sit in pitches all day long, looking at brilliant innovations of our women business owners. And really kind of interested in learning more from all my counterparts here in this conference. So excited to be here. Thank you.
We are pretty bankable. Black and bankable. I think you're like, this is awesome. This is really and truly awesome. And we definitely are going to, as I do with all guests, just a heads up, I'm definitely putting them on the spot. I'm leaving it open for you to reach out to them. Absolutely, as a resource. It's not just about, this podcast. It is about being able to reach out to them because I know that something they're going to say is going to edify you and you want to make that connection. So we've already put the bankable, and you guys know we've had a prior episode with the CDFI on as well. And so you know how important CDFIs are in this space. So I'm, again, just so excited. Miss Samantha.
Hi. I'm really excited to be here and share time and space. As Roberta said, it's always inspiring because we really truly do inspire one another. We're not a monolith. Look at all of us and what we do as women leading in our spaces. So professionally, I serve as the CEO and Managing Director for Walker's Legacy, a global ecosystem leader that supports and best equips Black and brown women entrepreneurs throughout their entrepreneurial journey, wherever they might be. So you can have a back of a napkin idea or really thinking about how do I grow my business through procurement opportunities, use soft land in our space with the culturally competent and resonant curriculum and just holistic support that the organization offers. In relation to I bring to this work my really lifelong existence as an entrepreneur. And I say that because my mom started a business while I was in utero. So I was learning to pitch since age 3. And I'm from Guyana, South America, and we're the only English-speaking country and Caribbean culture in the region. And that's really important to me to always share because it's so core to what I do and how I do it. So that leads me to be someone who's actually exercised a muscle in doing business globally. And so I have a couple of businesses in the country. I have 2 restaurants here in the DC region, and just constantly thinking about how I'm not just growing for myself and creating this legacy, but how I am connecting and co-designing strategies to help us do business with one another here in America and throughout the diaspora. So it's a practice every day. And I just don't come to the work as the CEO of this organization, from just kind of a book perspective.
Yeah.
My lived experience really informs a lot of how I approach and how we're having a voice, even on this council and co-designing policy recommendations and my own experiences in what it means to access capital and the lack of capital and the tenacity that, my family and I just had in betting on ourselves, which is something that we often see in the space of women business owners. We bet on ourselves. We take our entrepreneurial skills and turn it to entrepreneurial.
I like it. I like it. I like it. And just having that courage to bet on yourself. I feel some amazing gems already. Thank you so much, Samantha. And Brandy.
Yes. Well, I am so excited to be here. I hate having to go after Samantha. But like Samantha, I grew up in this business. I come from a family of entrepreneurial women, strong Black women. And my aunt started a business in 1987 when it was hard for a Black woman to get into the staffing recruiting business.
Okay.
She was a prime contributor to BHRN, which was Black Human Resource Network back in the day. And she grew her business to about $50 million. I grew up next to her. She was my mentor. She guided me in every way of my business. And I've been in business for 20 years now. I started in 2003. So I'm just happy to be able to happy anniversary.
Okay. Yeah.
So I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to share whatever I can remember. Yes, it's been a long journey.
It's in there. You know what? This episode promises so much. But one of the things that Brandy and I were chatting about before getting together is we know, and I know that right now as business owners, we need a couple of things that have already been said. We know we need money. We need the navigation point to how to get to it. We need the courage to bet on ourselves. And we need a template. Okay? And so that's what you're going to get from this episode, period. We can almost drop the mic on that one. But let's hop into a couple of questions that I have that will help the gems are flowing. And the first one I want to really lead with is let's talk about some of the challenges, because what we know with the Black and Bankable podcast, and just even in, as I say, my real job in training women and minority business owners every day, it's important that you have the ring. I hate fluff. I hate, we want to get to the core of how these women in their stature actually relate to you sitting at home watching this episode. So let's talk about some of the challenges that you all have experienced in running your business as women. Who wants to jump on that one? So we know there's some challenges now, or even in that you've seen, particularly from the CDFI standpoint, from the pitch standpoint, from Walker's Legacy standpoint, from also just serving the community as you do in the nonprofits. What are some of the challenges that we know you have because we've went through them? Let's put some names on those.
I think the interesting thing about each of us is we have these corporate professional roles. I cut my teeth in corporate 23 years ago, and now we are sitting in the roles, but also leading our own businesses. So it's really a deep level of understanding of how it works on all sides. And Roberta sitting in the funding space. For us on a technical training, we see women who are low to moderate income, and society has trained us to think that low to moderate income is poverty stricken. Whereas low to moderate income could be that teacher that has an amazing, innovative technology tool and need to understand, okay, I've got this master's degree that's awesome, but I don't know where to start to launch a business. Or you're a professional woman who has, some investment dollars of her own to start and launch her business, but again, don't know the template, may not have the community. So that's a challenge that we continue to see, like women just really yearning, particularly Black and brown women, yearning for community and yearning for just the guidebook. What is my template that I need to follow to go from A to B to Z? And that's what we're really focusing on at Walker's Legacy. Like, how do we meet people where they are?
Yes.
Right? And how do we also understand that everything is important, but everything can be urgent. So supporting the prioritization of running your business and being efficient in how you calculate time. And I'm saying this, I'm preaching to myself. It's just so crazy. I'm building another restaurant. Like, while but it's also been having that accountability partner.
Yes, that's very important.
So access is one big giant. We know
It
that.
is.
And it's a painful piece.
It is.
But what are the other components? We can have 1,000 Walker's Legacies doing this work, and it's still not enough to really get us where we need to be. But again, we continue to see Black and brown women starting businesses at the fastest growing rate. And women in general continue to lead the way in new businesses and really carrying our economy. So if we can just make these, and it's not going to be incremental changes, but critical, significant changes in supporting women business owners, we're actually going to see some major shifts in our economy. And we know there are other economies that are coming for us.
Yes. And I think the importance too in that is that we need for our business owners to know that we need you to come as you are. Come as you are.
That's right.
Because here in DC, we know it's so important. There are literally billions of dollars in this space. Trying to get to you. Trying to get to you. NWBC. There's so many resources, but if you don't hear anything from these women today, please hear that in order for you to truly connect yourself to these resources, you got to come as you are.
That's right.
So therefore the challenge, whatever that's with the challenge, come as you are.
It's that confidence. You brought it up, right? And betting on yourself. The number one challenge that I run into, even those who are all the way to telling their story, is that little question mark that sits at the bottom of it that says, should I do this?
Oh, wow.
And it is the community around you, even the people who love you, will set a little bit of a doubt moment.
Okay.
And when you seek out people who are there for you, and who will have hard conversations, and their doubt isn't about should you do this. Theirs is, have you thought about this?
Right. Yeah. Right.
Are you working on this? Is this important right now? Is this what we should be focusing on? That's where I see all of these people who are just hanging on, telling their story, pretending to be confident.
Yeah.
I know I've done it.
Yes. Yeah.
Every day, right now.
Yeah.
And working through it. But it is that, and if you surround yourself, and one of the biggest things I've found in re-engaging in this deep community is that everyone wants the person next to them to be successful. And I think we sometimes underestimate that power and working in. So if you're out there and you've got this and you're feeling super confident, I'm going to tell you, find the people you need to be with.
That will nurture that and that will help you along that journey. A couple of things to pull out of that, Kathy. Courage to bet on yourself, following along a path and being nurtured along the way. But I think, also to go back to unswaddling babies, whatever that challenge is, it takes courage to be in this space.
It does.
But, and challenges are going to come along the way. But, bad credit, bad breaks, running out of money, COVID, single parenthood, divorce, lifing, none of that's permanent. Right?
That's right. I'm going to give a confidence story. If I can.
Okay.
So, I've been in banking and finance for 35 years.
Okay.
My family comes to me with finance questions. Those who know that come to me. My best friend, she started a business in Charlotte, North Carolina, like 20 some years ago. and she ran an after school program and so forth and so on. So she got to the point where she had this opportunity to purchase a building. And so they call me, my nickname is Berta. So I was like, so Berta, I need to, purchase this building. I'm having so much trouble with XYZ Bank. And I said, okay. I said, well, I won't call her my real name, Susie. I'll call her Susie. I said, you know what I do, right? And I was at a different CDFI at the time. She said, yeah, but they keep blah, blah, blah. She just kept giving out.
You know what I
And I said, okay, I understand that, but you know what I did. And she said, yeah, I do. And she kept, and I just had something like, listen, stop. I said, why did you call me? Because you were, I said, correct. So I have watched, I knew her business from the ideation stage.
Okay.
I knew what she did. This was, we're probably 10 years in at that point. And I said, do the education. I said, I am the one that approves it. I said, do you hear what I'm saying? And then she just paused, like, oh my God. The resource. I call the resource, but I don't realize that's my answer. So, I think when it comes to confidence, it's, we don't see, unfortunately, sometimes we don't see that ability in other women as a woman. We think that it has to be a male. It has to be, but, I really had to convince her. We've been friends for 50 years. That this is what I do. I am that person.
Right.
So it was really, and we laugh about that to this day. Because it's going to be a lifelong story. But of course we did long, because I knew, not because she was my friend, but because she was qualified. And I knew she was qualified.
Correct.
And I did.
But it happens all the time. It happens all the time. The male-dominated spaces, and we do business. But we do business. We see men doing business with one another, and we don't talk about it. And I'm so grateful that you share that story, because I talk about, first of all, we're enough.
We are enough.
We're enough.
You are enough.
Yeah. The fact that you can conceive of an idea, it means that you can birth it.
That's right.
And I always like to say, to the Calvary ain't coming.
Oh my God.
This is it. This is it. So we have to really lean in and like trust one another.
Yes.
And even if you weren't the solution, it means that you're connected to a solution. And we don't need to see challenges, we need to see opportunities. So how can we be opportunistic? And I think that was you, Brandy. Like, you grew up under your aunt, who was a baddie. And you're like, okay, I was your baddie.
I got to live up to her greatness. So I had to figure it out. And when I started at 27, I had so many challenges because I was young. And no one respected my experience. No one respected, the knowledge that I had. So I had to figure out how to get past that point. So it was really hard. It was a big challenge for me. And then the other part is breaking into the boys' club. Okay. It was a boys' club. And every conference we went to, you saw the men at the bar huddling up and talking and working out deals, but we didn't have that. So like a few years ago, about 10 years ago, we created this group, this Women in Infrastructure group. And now we're the women at the conference huddling up and making plans and strategizing about how to move things forward.
That's right. Imposter syndrome a little bit.
Let's talk about it, because that's a real challenge that you faced, however many commas you have in the bank. Right? Let's talk about it. Like, that self-sabotage. It sounds like your friend, which is, sometimes we're so deep in it that we aren't able to actually see clearly. And I tell you, that really has been the story of my life, is that, God has actually put all the tools in my toolbox. I hadn't looked in, I hadn't, okay, there it is. But also, the power in Roberta's story that I know should resonate is sometimes we just have to open our mouth.
Yes, that's right.
Well, sometimes you just have to say what it is to someone.
There's power in vulnerability.
There's
absolutely so much power in telling our stories. And we should tell our stories and not have anybody else control that narrative.
So you all have each pushed through something major, honestly. I think each of you have said at least 20 years in doing what you have been doing. I want to talk about funding. I want to talk about access to capital, because that's all the rage, right? And I say it like that just because y'all know, I mean, definitely have testified on Capitol Hill, still in communication with policymakers, NWBC, senators. And the question always is like, how can we connect folks to the money?
Mhm.
Like how can, but again, what I want to stress in this episode is bring yourself as you are, because there are absolutely organizations that know it may take a nurturing when it comes to funding. Let's talk about CDFIs for a little bit, and because we've had a whole entire episode on this, but I think that Kathy and Roberta have some things that I really want to be pulled out when it comes to this access to. It's so easy to say, not so easy to unbreak.
That's correct.
Okay,
Sounds plentiful.
Like,
But when people they're afraid, number one, and then
what do you think they're afraid of? The rejection, or what? Okay.
and I'm going to even venture out and say success.
Oh,
wow. It's like, wow. Like, I just want a little bit. I just want you to, but you need 100, or you need to do not underfund, because that's devastating.
Oh my goodness.
If you don't get the money that you need, because you're going to start something that you can't finish. So, people think, I don't want to be in debt. Well, there's a thing as good debt and bad debt.
Okay.
So
Okay.
when you get this money before you get it, because I wrote down 2 words: confidence and timing. Before you get this money, you need to know what's the ROI of that?
Okay.
Is it 2x? Is it 3? What kind of money do you intend to make from this loan?
And how do you know the ROI, return on investment? But particularly in the space I'm in with taxes and accounting, how do you know what to ask for?
That's correct.
Because there's so many business owners. I love what you said about being afraid of success. Of like, I don't know if I want this debt. That's a cultural thing.
Yes, it is.
That's a cultural thing
Yes,
of being on the outside of banks.
That's right. That's right.
For go ahead.
I'm sorry, let me cut you off.
No, no,
When you've been deprived of something for so long, then you get and kind of have that switch where you begin to think, well, I'm not worthy of it because I was deprived, but you absolutely are. So then you have to, it's a mindset switch.
It really
That you have to have. So we don't do loans just because someone qualifies. We need to understand that you know what you're doing and how you're going to pay us back. This is the truth. I'm giving you all a lending nugget. It doesn't matter what, I don't care who the lender is. They really have 2 questions that they won't answer.
Okay.
Number 1, how are you going to pay us back?
That's right.
And secondly, if that doesn't work, how are you going to pay us back? I mean, we just need to know.
Okay. Yeah.
And we'll gladly give it to you. We just need to know that it's coming back ultimately, because we need to help someone else.
Which is not, a tough ask. I mean, if you rely on your money, you want to know if you're going to get your money back.
That's correct.
So that doesn't make that lending institution some, like imposed enemy or something of that nature. It absolutely is an ally that we have to get up to. Again, bring yourself as you are to the tip of this table here, and then get that insight that you need to know what to ask for, to have the courage to ask for it, and be able to speak to how you're going to pay it back.
That's exactly right. And I want to add one other thing that's a little slight from what we're talking about, but we're still talking about money. We're one of 5 Black-led CDFIs in North Carolina. There's several. I think there's not a lot. Maybe it's 60 across the country. My people. When you come to us, we are lenders, we are professionals. We expect the money back. So don't, come correct. We'll help you get it together, but don't come thinking that we're not serious about it and that you're coming with, half your documents and you're taking weeks to get the other ones, but you still want an answer.
Right.
My question always to them is, would you do that at Bank of America? Would you do it at Wells Fargo? Take us seriously. We are serious. We're serious about helping. But, you have to come correct, because if you don't, then and you don't get the loan, then we're the bad guy. But that's not the case.
Right. And so here's a storyline. We're pouring into you to get you up to that mind shift. That's right. Switch it on. Give you the courage, bet on yourself. But I think we've now transitioned into now it's time to roll up your sleeves.
Yes.
Because, you are going to absolutely have to have some skin in the game. And Roberta has shared exactly how that looks, knowing what to ask for, the dollar amount, knowing how you're going to pay it back. Kathy, in what you do, I'm very, because everybody does like this pitch stuff, like that is, and I think it totally edifies. Because let me tell you something, I hadn't pitched myself at all, and I would be nervous just thinking about it. So I'm not dogging pitches at all, because it definitely builds something there. Because it's the major unswaddling the baby.
Right.
It's the major, right? What
I was thinking, you practice pitching before you go in.
That's right.
You know, what the thing is, be serious about what you're doing. And it's not just pitching the pitch. It is, you're serious. You want to know, how are you going to pay it back? What you want to know, where do you want to go? What are you creating? How are you going to do that with the money that you've got to have your story? So you're right. You have to do the work.
Yes.
To do it. And some of this is, if you practice the pitch, that's part of the work, right? And so get in there and understand it. If you want to own a business and you want that business to be successful and you want it to grow, you have to answer those 3 questions and be honest with yourself, because those are each a hard thing.
Very much so.
And then once you do it, then you got to do the work, and you've got to be prepared with what it is. Because if you walk in with that sense of confidence and direction, it's really hard for people to say no to that. And if they're saying no to it, you have the confidence to go to the next person, because it's not like I've been said no to more times than not.
And what the no is actually a roadmap.
That's right.
Like,
That's right.
Because you know what the documents are, because that's federally regulated. You know what I mean? We talk about it all the time in the bankable tax returns, financial statements, bank statements, all of the stuff that that you avoid. Okay. But then, again, it's all of that. Like, you have to have that stuff, and then you have to have the confidence. But what I think we miss out on is go grab those no's too. Because those notes tell you specifically where you need to focus on to reveal.
Right.
And so what are some no's that Walker's Legacy has helped business owners apply to their blueprint?
Well, I think the first thing that we have, first of all, I'm sure that our audience is a diverse audience, right? So we're meeting people where they are. So it's not necessarily speaking to those entrepreneurs who are now starting out and kind of don't have a process in place. We might have some viewers and listeners who are a little further along.
Yes.
So they're trying to figure out, okay, I'm revenue generating. I've got some customers. I might even have a brick and mortar. How do I grow my business now to a 7-figure business? So at each stage, nonetheless, we have to ready our businesses. And I'll be very transparent and share a personal story. One of the reasons that I'm able to build another restaurant is because I was intentional about ensuring that the business was operating like a business. So when COVID hit, we survived. We survived the recession. We're almost 20 years in. So we survived the recession. We survived COVID. And because I had so much training in corporate America, it really lent to what I could support and how I can support the business. But it also meant that my family, my parents who are my business partners, and our children and my husband, everybody came in and supported. So making sure that we have that community where they're galvanizing and believing in our venture and contributing in a meaningful way. But we had to be ready. And when a grant opportunity came open in the District of Columbia last year, I was like, there's no way I could afford to build out a 4,500 square foot restaurant by myself. But oftentimes I think we pigeonhole ourselves with financing and thinking explicitly banking, traditional bank, traditional financial institutions, CDFIs.
Mhm.
There was a loan. I mean, a grant.
Mhm.
And because I know this space and I have grant writers
Okay.
as mentees,
Okay.
I was like, we gonna write this
No,
ourselves. And we wrote a grant, and I was able to tell a story that was real
Mm.
and believable. And because I have relationships and partnerships that I've cultivated
Okay.
and worked really, really, really hard to keep for 25 years, I was able to turn to those people and say, I need a letter of support because you got to help validate me. And that helped us to secure a grant that's going to really help us realize this build out, because I knew I couldn't do it. And I did not necessarily want to take a significant loan. So we have to think very creatively and really diversify our pocket and think about how we're consistently, as we are building and growing our business, how we are always thinking about, am I ready? Am I ready? Am I ready? Because that opportunity will hit and you want to be ready. You know, COVID was an example. We lost a lot. Our communities, the Black and Brown communities, were just painful. But a lot of it wasn't, it's a mix, right? So it absolutely is because some of the first time ever in the United States, we have to do something like this. I think it's just, you know, the theme is just to ensure that we're ready.
Yes.
For whatever comes, whatever it hits, whatever opportunity. And as much as we have challenges, in each of those challenges, there's opportunity. And because I'm betting on myself, betting on our product, betting on our family, these new opportunities are opening up that I had no idea could even come into existence. So it's also evidence that the universe is our best co-conspirator if we just kind of like let go. Not there, we can't operate, you know, fearless. There's always going to be some fear, but how do we make sure that the fear isn't crippling, but you know, bolstering seats like Roberta, but also looking at ourselves. I am an investor. Like, I invest in small emerging companies. When I say small, like they're startups, but these are startups that are essentially going to be multi-million-dollar businesses, and just kind of exercising that muscle that we don't need millions and millions of dollars to be able to support one another and provide that microloan fund. But you know, how are we learning the space of VC? When VC is appropriate, when it's not. A lot of folks just try to think like this is a space that, because it sounds sexy and it's amazing. Like, no, you might actually never need VC because they take your money, your company, and you want to be able to control it. And if you want to pass it on, that's how we do legacy. So just really understanding the nuances of all capital mechanisms and financing mechanisms, and also understanding that grants should be top of the list when you're looking and thinking through all of that.
But you know what I love about just what all we've covered so far, because we've covered a lot. We just threw in venture capital.
Right.
We know we got some investors. We got, you know, but what I really want to stress, particularly under the reason that we're here, and that is association, collaboration, relationships, building your circle. So let's thread in some things. We told you to bet on yourself, to come as you are. We are connecting you with individuals who have been in business for 20 years. We touched on being afraid of success, being afraid of funding due to cultural issues. There's a reason behind why you think that way. We hopefully have gotten that switch button in your mind to start to move over to where we need it to be. And also knowing that once you have done that shift, that we need for you to roll up your sleeves so that I can truly connect you to these resources. But what I would like Brandy to speak on, and then as again, we reflected before, these are women on the National Women's Business Council. I want us to drive home the importance of sister circles, the importance of having a template. And even if you're sitting at home and you have no one, you have this episode now, right? So, you know, let's talk about how important it is to have someone that you consider a mentor, to have organizations that you're serving on. You know, let's talk about how that has helped you carry forward the 20 years that you have, Brandy.
So I've been so fortunate that when I was about 10 years into my business, I was asked to join this organization called YPO, called Young Presidents Organization.
Okay.
So you apply before you're 45, and you have to have a certain revenue stream in order to qualify. And so I've been a part of that organization about 13 years now. But it's been so important because I've had this forum of some very successful people that don't look like us, but there are women in this group who have been my sounding board.
Okay.
And so they've helped me figure out like who I need as advisors, who I need to apply, look for in terms of getting additional capital. I started a franchise business, fitness business in 2019, right before COVID.
Okay.
And I thought I had all my funding available and ready, but COVID happened and no one's going to fund a gym and a new business.
Right.
So I went to my YPO group and I said to you guys, I need your help.
Okay.
And you know what? They raised their hand.
Oh, wow.
And I got a small loan from them, like 1% interest, paid back in 2030, and that was the gift. That was the gift. That was a gift that I would have never had opportunity or access if I don't take a chance. I enjoy this predominantly white organization, honestly, full of white men, and it's paid off, honestly, and it's been very successful for me. So I'm thankful for that.
So let's shift to why Black and Bankable is even here. And again, that really is the National Women's Business Council and the Association of Women's Business Centers. And again, I said you're going to hear women, throughout this because that's who we are. and there is a slightly curated path that we have to follow. I want to talk about NWBC. And I want to connect the audience to also AWB, the alphabet soup of there is DC. But I want you to know that this episode not only connects you to these individual CEOs and organization leaders, but also to major national organizations. Talk to me about your roles on the NWBC. Brandy, I'll start with you.
Well, I'm a new council member, and I'm so honored to serve. I've known Tanae for many years. I think since she was at Commerce, and I love to support my sisters.
Yeah.
And I'm just honored to be able to give any knowledge, information, and support the growth of other entrepreneurs. So
Absolutely. Samantha?
Well, the National Women's Business Council is one of many councils, and we are uniquely positioned a seat of situational privilege where we actually get to collect data, be informed, and really think carefully about how policies are being designed and recommend those policies to the President of the United States, Congress, and SBA. That's a pretty powerful seat and a role to serve in.
Yes.
And it is a diverse group of women where, diverse not just in race and ethnicity, but race and lived experiences, race and diversity in just our technical knowledge. So together we really serve as complements, led by our amazing executive director who is appointed, Tanae Dolphin, and her team. So, we just get to really sit in a seat where we think about what's going to be transformative for women so that they can unlock the portal to generational wealth creation, legacy building. And really and truly, it's a national security imperative because women are the ones leading this economy. So we really need to protect women and provide a space that is supportive and really bolster their success.
And Kathy, how do you serve NWBC?
So I sit on the inclusive entrepreneurial ecosystem. I'm the committee chair. I'm super blessed to be included in this. I'm not even quite sure how I got here, but I grew up in a small community in a very rural state. I had the blessing of a career that brought me global, and to your corporate kind of experience. I stepped out of that, started 3 businesses that I'm super proud of, and I moved home. And so when I came back, I had to step back and really look at the landscape in a different way because I had gotten so involved in my life. High speed, high finance, all of the things. Yeah. And I came back and I have 3 beautiful granddaughters and a grandson that live in that area. And I grew up with the entrepreneurial grandmother, mother, been in the business world forever. And I thought, oh, I need to get back in. We had been fighting this battle. I was a banker in 1989 when women didn't need a male cosigner. That was my first experience with access to capital. And so when the opportunity came to work with the business centers, which nobody knew about in our region as well, the opportunity to mentor women when I had been blessed with such good mentors my whole life. And then I met today and we had a great conversation. It was 20 minutes long and we knew at the end that this was great. And I felt super blessed to be involved because now I'm meeting just a group of women who will continue to drive the same conversation that we've been doing. So,
and we've captured this in a podcast episode. Sister circles, access, nurturing, relationships. It's important. And before I get in and Roberta shared with us how she's serving NWBC, y'all know I gotta get it when it's right here because this is good. The thing is that I really want to make sure that our audience knows. Like Brandy didn't have a women's business center. Samantha talked about, no women's business center. And something that she said also was, kind of being intimidated about maybe going to something SBA backed or, a women's business center. This episode is your women's business center. You're now being connected. I mean, I'm not making light of this. Like, this is the power of a podcast with people who are pouring into you, no holds barred, because we want to. I mean, like this is truly powerful. Everything that they've said, and wow, you're not only being connected to them individually, but you got a board chair of the Association of Women's Business Center, Miss Roberta, as well as tell us how you're serving with the National Women's Business Council. Because I don't think y'all get it. So we're going to do it one more time. To further express and just stress what you're being connected to today.
So my role with the council is the chair. I was going to say chairperson, chairwoman.
That's right.
Chairwoman of the Access to Capital and Opportunity Committee. So I believe that today approached me and her team because of what I do. I run a loan fund. So, it just made sense for me it was an automatic yes. And I was very gracious and grateful that she asked. So, in terms of relationship, I didn't really know when I joined the association board, I was running one of my employees' women's business centers in 2019. And so we acquired a CDFI in 2020. And so our CEO was like, well, you're over here. But that was my background. I was like, okay, great. And even though I don't run a business, I treated it at first. Right. Because I'm like, I need to build my entire team. The only person I had was an intern who was still with me and who is now a permanent employee. And I had to build my team, treated as such. But then with the association, when Corinne said, hey, bro, the National Women's Business Council holds a seat particularly for the board chair. I honestly was not aware of NWBC when I joined. And this was a little bit over a year now. And so when I first got on, I got to say, I was like, oh my gosh, policy is not necessarily my lane. It wasn't then. It definitely is now. It was a very steep learning curve. And I'm like, okay, let me just dive in because I was absolutely fascinated by the fact that this council, this women-based council, had so much power, not power in person, but power and influence.
That's right.
On things that matter to women across the country. And I'm like, I am all men.
Because
So-
why does it matter?
Yes.
Again, I got to stress we're in DC.
Yes.
These are all powerhouse women connected to DC in some form. And y'all know, lived in DC and worked on Capitol Hill myself. The tools that you're getting, you got technical experts, been bankers since the 80s. You got running CDFIs, technical assistant, building it from scratch is still 20 years strong, all the way up to policymakers that directly sit stuff to the White House. Bring it all the way, you know, because you will get lost in it if you don't.
Yeah.
I am truly, truly grateful and honored to have you ladies on the Black and Bankable episode. We're gonna wrap it up. I'm sad too. I think I'm gonna pester y'all each individually. Tanae knows I pester her all the time anyway. But truly, I'm really serious about the fact that I want y'all to connect with the individuals, the organizations, because all of these moving nuts and bolts are here for your business sitting right there wherever you are or driving in your car. And I can't stress that enough. You can look it up. These organizations and women, we're all here because our passion to pour into you is where our sister circles will always overlap. So I sincerely appreciate Tanae, Executive Director of the National Women's Business Council, for making this happen, and Jordan, and really all of the National Women's Business Council team. Let me tell you something. It feels real good inside to know that you have people in high places that care about your passion. And that's the way Tanae has made me feel. And you guys have made me feel in coming on the Black and Bankable podcast. So I am full. I am satisfied. And we still have 2 more days of the conference. So thank you so much, ladies. Thank you. Thank you. And we are done, y'all. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you share this with your business bestie, and make sure you look underneath this description or DM me. Y'all know how to reach me because you are now connected. Thank you so much.